one another. Help us, with thy grace, to do only those things that will promote the unity, peace, happiness, and prosperity of Nigeria. The pledge. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity, and uphold her honor and glory. So help me God.
Is on an urgent need for the implementation of the provision of an act enacted by National Assembly and signed by Mr. President, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in respect to some of the institutions established by this hallowed chamber, concurred by the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, communicated to various agencies concerned, and have not been complied with. There is need for us to ensure that the commitment of both the two chambers of the National Assembly and signature of Mr. President is respected. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Why can't this come?
And we are in the process of passing the budget, even if not for the purpose of funding. There is a need for us to make sure that the title is complied.
So you have answered the reason for the urgency. You're saying we're about
implementation of the act enacted by the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the House...
Colleagues, please, can you listen in silence?
The House note that the National Assembly, in pursuant to improve the educational system in Nigeria, upgraded 3 federal colleges of education through repeal and enactment as federal universities of education, and transmitted same to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for assent, in accordance with Section 58 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the provision of the Act, Authentication Act, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. Further note that the 3 bills, namely the Federal University of Education Establishment Bill 2021, the Adeyemi Federal University of Education Ondo Establishment Bill 2021, and the Federal University of Education Kontagora Establishment Bill 2021, were assented to by the President and returned to the National Assembly for further legislative action. Aware that 3 acts were duly enrolled at the Supreme Court and gazetted at the federal government printers, and copies circulated to all relevant ministries, departments, and agencies of government, including the Federal Ministry of Education for implementation. Worried that despite the complying with all provisions of the law, the Ministry of Education, in total disregard to the President and the National Assembly, went ahead to submit the 2023 budget for the repealed federal colleges of education and refused to recognize the Federal University of Education, which is tantamount, in my opinion, to gross misconduct. Aware that the same Federal Ministry of Education made budgetary provision for a new Federal University of Health Science, Azari, Bauchi State, without legislative backing. Resolve, Mr. Speaker. 1. Mandate the Committee on Appropriation to substitute the Federal College of Education budget, since they don't exist anymore, for a aforesaid Federal University of Education under the budget code 051701-9009 of 0517019013 and 05170195 to reflect the Federal University of Education Panjshir, the Federal Adeyemi Federal University of Education Ondo, as well as Federal University of Education Kontagora, respectively. 2. Mandate the Committee on Legislative Compliance to investigate the non-compliance of an act of the National Assembly by Federal Ministry of Education and any other ministries and department of government and report back to the House in 2 weeks. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Ishmael.
Has been investigating the reason for any agency of government to breach the Act of Parliament. What you are looking for in Sokoto is in your Sokoto. I do not see where a resolution of this Parliament will be superior to an Act of Parliament. It is just the legislature do your job. If it has come to you in defect, like the president has signed an Act of Parliament and they are not reflecting it, you do the proper thing by making sure it's reflected. But you also have to find out the conditions precedent on why they are breaching that, they are not obeying the Act, why they are trying to sustain a situation where the Parliament has passed a law and has changed it. And I also think that at this moment, the chairman education should bring us up to date on what actually has happened. Because at appropriation level or during interaction, he would have interviewed them. He would have known what are the issues and why these agencies should breach, or whether there are conditions precedent for their entry. And if there are no reasons for them to reflect, to breach reflecting that amendment, then Parliament should take action to prevent such situations in the future. But we cannot be passing a resolution to obey a law. It's in existence. I do not think we need a resolution to ask us to obey our law, to ask any agency. We want to investigate why the infraction should happen in the first place. Thank you.
My name is High Chief Aminu Sulaiman. I represent Pagi Federal Constituency. I do not have a problem, Your Excellency, with the motion under reference. I don't have at all. But I also feel it is important to identify with the intervention of Honorable Toby. So I do recall that the processes leading to the upgrade of these colleges of education into a full-fledged university was initiated and debated on the floor of this House. And they went through the regular process of a bill and which was returned to the House. I do recall, sir, even the executive proposal then was for 6. Alban Ikoko College of Education, Federal College of Education, Kano, Ademi College of Education, Akure College of Education, Ondo, and of course FCE Zaria, 1 or 2 from each geopolitical zone. I don't know how 2 or 3 were dropped, and I do not have problem with the additional that were included. Probably it was because of executive fiat or from any other intervention. I would therefore rather ask, sir, that the House direct the clerk of the House of Representatives to bring out the processes that we have submitted and the recommendation from the National Assembly to the executive, so that we'll be able to know at what point did some got missing and some got included, and how we found ourselves in this quagmire of passing a bill assented to and they remain as they are. I am at a loss, even as the head of the committee that carried out this job. So I think the custodian of our record should be able to assist us so that we can be taking position from an informed angle. Thank you.
I am happy that I am in attendance today and we are considering this motion on urgent public importance. But I feel strongly, Mr. Speaker, that this House, they say charity begins at home. I want to use this opportunity to draw our attention that sometimes in 2019, I brought up a motion, or rather a bill, seeking to amend the Federal Colleges of Education Act and add Federal College of Education, Ningi. My bill was stepped down. I was asked to go and come with an establishment bill. And I told the House then that I consulted with the National Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies, which we were advised to be consulting in terms of matters that relate to bills and motions and what have you. And they told me that was the proper thing to do. Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised now to hear that this same House that turned down my bill to consider a proposal to create a College of Education in Ningi went ahead and considered amendment of that same Colleges of Education Act and added some institutions. So, Mr. Speaker, we need to get things very straight so that if we're applying a rule, it should be across board. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And in addition, Mr. Speaker, I sponsored another bill for College of Education Warji since that 2019. I have written to the clerk of the House of Reps. I have written to the clerk of tertiary education. I had written also to colleges of Committee on Agri Colleges and Institutions. My bill is nowhere to be found. I felt pain that my effort is being wasted by a process that I cannot understand what is happening, Mr. Speaker. I want to use this opportunity to urge this House to direct the clerk to look for the bill that I have sponsored with regards to Federal College of Education, Warji, and next time if anybody comes with a proposal to amend a legislation, it will be looked at dispassionately so that the member promoting that bill will not be made to suffer unnecessarily. I so submit, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. They will not come on the floor of the House is not acceptable. But I know that his bill will not be killed because we have not killed any establishment bill here unless for good reason. So maybe, clerk, so liaise with Honorable Ningi, and if you cannot find his bill, then let him represent next week. Yes.
Because of the contributions of members. The bill my brother Honorable Ningi is referring to when he brought this bill, I remember I was the person presiding on that day. And I was just following the rules and guidance. I would say, with all honesty, what I did that day to advise him to toe the line I pushed was for the interest. And if he goes through the rules, this is what is clearly spelled out. But in parliamentary work, the lobbying and the understanding and the work varies from one person to another. The bills Honorable Comrade is referring to, of course, were not just taken in this assembly. They were taken in the last assembly. Those one per political zone. It was an executive bill. So if anything happens to it, it means then we have done something, and that's why I will ask for the investigation. But while we have the executive bill, it does not stop us as members and parliamentarians to seek for our constituency and our people another interest. And this could be, and I believe this is part of the bill sponsored by Gagdi and Co., and that's led to us where we are. But for me, as a legislator, mine is to make laws. Mine is to ensure the right thing that happens. And I was speaking to him that before we came here, in their office, that I thought it's not our own, it's not through this fiat that we'll come to do. Let us do other engagements. And I believe in those engagements. It could be done. We don't have to come here and exacerbate. And that's why you could hear issues coming up. And even from the way the motion is prompted, of course we need synergy. We alone in the parliament cannot execute, make law execute for the good governance. We need the collaboration. And it is a collaboration with the executive that have brought us to where we are. I'm proudly, and I'm very proud to say that my association with the executive has brought this parliament more development, and it is bringing us more development. What we have even in the interventions and the execution or the level of implementation of the budget is something that we can write as part of our history, that yes, through this collaboration, things have changed. So I don't believe in what do I say? But I believe in consultation. I believe that those things could be achieved. It is possible. The insinuations may be correct, it may not be correct. And so when you are asking for investigation, and then we are now beginning to hear this, and then whatever it is the president have signed, if the president have signed, what we expect is implementation. And maybe look at the other ones that they brought too, that have not been done, so that we can also do the right thing to balance the situation, and then we'll have a peaceful society. Thank you. This is my contribution, sir.
Yeah, if I understand.
Yes.
Well, Your Excellency, when you start going for investigation, and then we begin to write, as far as I'm concerned, wisdom should play more in where we find ourselves. Because if they have brought their executive, these executive bills didn't just come from one person. I believe the Ministry of Education are supposed to be part of the process. And if for any good reason we decided to drop their own, of course, some people who have interest out there may not be happy. And that's why I'm saying wisdom. I don't believe in investigating any matter here, but rather to call for a tripartite meeting.
I honestly think that's why I wanted to clarify what his position was, because that was my position too. That what are we investigating? On the face of it, there's an act of parliament signed by Mr. President, and it automatically becomes an act. It has changed the name, it has changed the status or whatever of the College of Education. There's nothing to investigate other than the budget came with the old name. Now you can chalk that down to a mistake, untidiness of the budget, and it is now for both the Committee on Education and Appropriation in bringing the bill back to make the necessary amendment in the name. If you can remove something from the budget, you can change it. And like the DS said, I will agree with Honorable Gagdi's. I will agree with Honorable Gagdi's motion, except for the issue of investigation. This is a very clear court case. There's an act of parliament signed by Mr. President. There's nothing to investigate. Just change the name to what it's supposed to be.
You, sir.
Yes, Honorable Toby.
Thank you. If we listen to the chairman education properly, these bills came deliberately from the executive, and it was tailored to be one per each zone. Just a moment, sir. Just a moment. Let me drop my point. So, now, what the chairman asked and what I said there isn't anything to investigate in implementing an act of parliament. You go and do it, and I also was on the same, I was on all fours with the Deputy Speaker, that we will engage if there are certain conditions precedent to that, or what is making it impossible for them to do so. But, Mr. Speaker, we can't ignore the fact that a standing committee of this House has done a job, and it has met all conditions, and is passed for processing. And suddenly, a few number of those bills are dropped. How? Order what?
Yeah, what's your point of order?
Members' bill. Deputy Speaker have made it categorically clear that inasmuch as we have executive bill in the 9th Assembly that is not carried over in the 8th Assembly, that is not represented in the 9th Assembly, it was clarified by the Deputy Speaker that it was done in the 8th Assembly. So these are private members' bill, not executive bill, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. So your point of order is on relevance.
Those bills said that, look, there are certain bills that have gone through processes. It is not out of place to find out what is holding them. And as far as his own is concerned, there is no need for a resolution the appropriate members of the parliament who are in those committees should implement it. Then we should find out what is holding back these ones. And it just requires the clerk of this parliament, of the House of Representatives, to give us a
the missing two, the remainder two that the chairman was referring to,
yes,
were they signed by Mr. President?
we want to know why they were not signed.
No. The president can choose not to sign.
Submitted to Mr. President.
That's no.
Were they submitted?
That's talk to the finder from the clerks of the National Assembly.
That is why he said that we should demand from him to give us a feedback on
the president has a right. We can look. There's something called presumption of regularity and presumption of irregularity. If those two bills are not before us, and nobody here can say that the president signed it, it follows automatically by process that the president overrode
those bills.
You are not aware?
Yes.
Are you aware that he signed?
We are aware of the ones he signed.
I'm restricting my argument to those two.
We want to know why.
Honorable Toby,
yes.
Are you aware that the president signed those two bills that are missing? Are you aware?
We don't have information on that.
So if we are not aware that the president signed them, then it automatically will follow that he did not sign.
If we can't get a feedback, we should know whether he signed or not. And that is the information.
Since when have we, as a parliament, signed or passed a bill, passed by the Senate, sent to the National Assembly, and we're now investigating whether the president signed the bill or not? Since when have we done that?
We have information. It's not investigation.
That information is not for the floor. It's for you to ask. Just walk to the CNA and ask the CNA, did you pass these two bills to the president? If the CNA says yes, then ask the CNA or the clerk here, did the president return those two bills signed? If the answer, then you have your answer right there.
My presumption is that the chairman of education would have made that effort.
Chairman.
If he hasn't, then we ask him to do so.
Chairman.
But we want to have a feedback tomorrow.
Let me just recall the attention of this House. These 6 initial proposals, correctly like Gagdi said, were executive proposals, which were not passed by the 8th Assembly. But they were brought back. And when these 3 came, we took them simultaneously, together, and we passed. So my worry, I am celebrating the 3. But I'm also concerned about the whereabouts of the rest. Let the clerk tell us correspondences between this House and the executive so that we will know at what stage the other 6 disappeared. This is one. Number 2, sir, the proposal being brought about here now by Gagdi don't have any problem, but let us try to understand this. There are more to theoretically correcting names on our budget. It got to do with forming a structure of a university. By the time we make pronouncement and corrections here that there are no longer colleges of education, I want us just to look at the implications, sir. A university cannot be governed by the academic structure of a college. It then means they will have to start a process of recruiting a vice chancellor, a registrar, a bursar, an academic board that have the academic requirement to run a university. Sir, this process would not take less than 3-4 months to complete. Now, in doing that, if we give effect immediately, what happened to the administration of the institution? I do not know, but if we have an answer, I want us to reflect on this before we proceed to reflect these changes, because it is being looked around as if by just mere changing name, they automatically become a university, and the same drivers driving a college will now assume the status of university administrators. I want us to reflect on this. If there is no problem, I don't have problem with it at all.
Yeah, you raise a good point, but let me ask, what is there a commencement date to the law? that we passed.
These two should be answered by the clerk. If we have passed the presidency side, I don't know what it is.
So if there is a commencement date, that is what we go by. And I believe there will be a commencement date. And once a law is passed and is signed, the process is completed. It was for the administration of it, the administrative process. How do you change the name? How do you appoint a provost? How do you do all of those things? That has got nothing to do with us. We've passed the law. The president has signed it. What we're concerned about, and I think what Gagdi is concerned about, is that the argument could also be made, if you appropriate money to a college of your education, you might find yourself locked in a legal battle that no, this money was not appropriated to a university, it was appropriated to a college of education. Then we find ourselves in a quagmire. And it becomes very untidy that how do you, on one hand, pass a law signed by the Mr. President, changing the university, college of education to university, and then subsequently, you now come back to this house and you pass an appropriation law negating the law that you have passed. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you now come back to this same house after passing the law, and you are appropriating to an old, because college of education, from the moment you pass the law, is dead. It makes us look like we don't know what we're doing. When the appropriation bill comes, and we're going line item by line item, and we say college of education, and we pass and we appropriate money to college of education, where is it? It doesn't exist anymore. The college of education does not exist anymore, so we are appropriating to a non-existing college of education. So I think it's better to err on the side of caution and follow our law. I think it was a mistake on the side of the executive, and that's why we're here to correct those mistakes. Honorable Obina, and then I'll put the question.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think we should overlabor this issue. You have actually even found the solution. Our duty is to make laws. What they are trying to drag us into is administrative work. Just refer it to the necessary arms within the National Assembly. Let them go sort out the administrative work. And your last explanation makes it even more cogent and more verifiable that they should go and sort out their administrative work while we continue with our legislative work. Because this matter has been done, and all we need to do is just to sort it out. So thank you, Mr. Mr. Speaker, for the work you are doing. Thank you very much.
Those in...
Who seconded this? Stepping down.
Maki did. Try and pay attention, Honorable Toby. Try and pay attention.
I think...
Bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology Act, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the...
Zaria Federal Constituency. I'm from Kaduna State. And I rise to employ this Honorable House to receive the report of the Committee on Land Transport on a bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology Act, Cap 116, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology Bill to provide for full-time and part-time courses of instructions and training for the general development of transport and logistics sector of the Nigerian economy. For junior, middle, senior cadre, managers, technicians, technologists, artisans, and for related matters. Right Honorable Speaker, I so submit.
Further north and the south, Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, by the leave of this House, I'm also the Deputy Chairman of the House Committee on Pension. Mr. Speaker, I come under personal explanation to offer an opinion, especially on the consideration of this bill which we are about to do, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is on record that by the grace of God, I'm one of the biggest proponents of workers' welfare.
Hold on, please, hold on. Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, I said it is on record that by the grace of God, I'm one of the biggest proponents of workers' welfare and advancement of everything that has to do with the protection of the rights of the Nigerian worker to the best of the condition of services. And even in this House, Mr. Speaker, I've had cause to come on more than one occasion to move motions for the protection of the welfare of staffers of the National Assembly. And I want that to be on record as a background to this comment I want to make. Mr. Speaker, the contributory pension scheme, which was a product of the law passed by the National Assembly, has a purpose, which is the standardization of the pension regime in this country. And Mr. Speaker, I am alarmed that in a very rapid and unusual manner, a bill has come into this House which seeks to exempt the National Assembly from the contributory pension scheme. Before now, Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Pension has considered similar requests from the Nigeria Police, from the Customs, from the Immigration, from the prisons. And the overriding consideration has been that any attempt to exempt certain classes of people from the contributory pension scheme may eventually lead to the collapse of that structure and that system. And Mr. Speaker, I do not, in all honesty, see the need why we are coming in to exit the National Assembly from this contributory pension scheme, as I see it as an opportunity that will open a floodgate of other demands and requests from other critical sectors who will come up with similar demands and which may eventually lead to the collapse of this very novel, very important scheme, which is the contributory pension scheme. And I feel I have an obligation, Mr. Speaker, to draw the attention of this Honorable House to this very, very important fact. And that is why I'm coming under this point of order of personal explanation as the Deputy Chairman of the House Committee on Pension.
Colleagues.
And our committee is also not aware of what was not taken into full consideration in coming to this stage in considering this bill, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. DS.
Honorable.
Once again, Ahmed Idris, I represent was a federal constituent Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, I think I will all with due respect
Honorable Ningi,
urge our colleagues and my colleagues to always look into their own rules. The standing order is very clear as to how business of the House is being conducted. This bill didn't just come today. There was first reading, second reading, and today we are committing it to third reading. And for somebody to come at this hour to say he wants to arrest, I think it's not right, sir. Secondly, sir, for this standing order again, the Speaker has the right to commit bills direct to Committee of the Whole. Go through the rules. It's very clear. Not all bills must go through public hearing. Thirdly, I don't know why, anytime any matter that pertains to National Assembly, we are the first to raise issues. Is it that we do not care about the welfare that you are thinking about of the same people that are serving us? I think that's not right. For me, Your Excellency, the writing has been done. We're in the third reading. It should be allowed. To assent is now the issue. We are going to the Committee of the Whole. It didn't just go to this level. And if we are all serious, we should be going through our legislative processes and work. This should not be allowed, sir. That each time somebody can just on his own feel that he can stop a complete work of 200 or 360 members. That is not correct, sir. Thank you very much. This is my submission, sir.
Honorable Speaker, my name is Honorable Benjamin Bem Mzondu. I speak for the people of Makudi Guma and also for the teeming unemployed youths. Mr. Speaker, This house is known as a honorable house, and whatever is done must be seen to be done honorably. Mr. Speaker, we make laws for the country. We don't make laws for a certain set of people, but for the whole people of this country. Mr. Speaker, the law before you, which is supposed to be read for a third time, is coming under scrutiny because the right procedures, Mr. Speaker, were not followed. Mr. Speaker, I'm a member of the Pension Committee and an active member for that matter. Mr. Speaker, this bill has been referred to the committee and requests have been made to your office for a public hearing. Mr. Speaker, that request has not been granted, and before we know, the report was considered. And the laws of the House for 60 days, upon which a committee must consider her laws before the report, before it to be considered, was now activated. Who activated that very aspect of the standing rules, we don't know. Mr. Speaker, I have a bill that has in the Committee of Health for over a year that is meant to have been report has been brought up to this moment, but nothing was adopted. Mr. Speaker, there are requests from the Nigerian police. We had a public hearing for them to be exited. And we know as soon as we open the floodgate for exit, it means we will have to also consider other requests of exit, because precedents will have to be followed. We cannot make one rule for another set and a rule for... The Nigerian police also serve the Nigerian public. In the 8th Assembly, to my knowledge, they also requested to be exited. It was turned down. In the 9th Assembly, the same thing. Mr. Speaker, if we do open this floodgate, it means the contributory pension scheme will also crash, because every agency had made requests to be exited, but we have been considering the matter to bring a holistic report. We want the House to please step this matter down for further and proper deliberations and consultations.
Information, Mr. Speaker.
That is my request. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Information, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point of order?
I represent Panshinkanke Kanam Federal Constituency. I come, Mr. Speaker, to call the attention of the last speaker under Order 12, Rule 5, about the process of recommittal of the bill, so that they will not keep on referring to the process as illegal. Page 74. When a bill has been read, I'm quoting, for a second time, it shall stand recommitted to a standing committee unless the House on a motion met or the Speaker, which was mentioned by the Deputy Speaker here, or the Speaker commit it to a committee of a whole. Such motion shall not require notice, but must be made immediately after the bill is read a second time, and must be proposed by the majority leader of the House. Whatever the process we are doing here, Mr. Speaker, you have the right. If a bill, let there be decorum, Mr. Speaker. This is not Monday.
Honorable Abiante, please allow him to finish, please.
After second reading, I have a the powers to set work, or were given enough sufficient time to do their work. Yes, and then Fulata.
Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, on this bill, and let it be made clear. But I do know that this process was done through a motion in our order paper, and it was taken before we went into committee of the whole. This information can be made available. We should not be doing things as if we have personal issues. I disagree with that. It was done properly through motion on our order paper for the committee. The chairman house rules is here. He should speak to Issa. Thank you very much.
By our rules, that motion was meant to have been brought immediately after the second reading to commit to the committee of whole and sideline the standing committee. Please read what's your information? But read the same.
Mr. Speaker, my information is that this bill was properly referred to the relevant committee.
That's what I'm saying.
The committee could not do its job on time. The committee was discharged.
Hold on. Please allow the chairman business. Allow the chairman.
Honorable colleague, please, can you just...
Please allow the chairman business to land. Go ahead.
The committee was properly discharged in line with provisions of Order 12 and recommitted to the committee of the whole. That's what happened.
But Honorable Fulata, you will agree. You will agree that committees. There are so many committees. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months have still not provided a report. That motion should have included all those committees. You cannot single out one committee that they have not done their work. And on what basis? I know that, Honorable Fulata, I am aware that the committee wrote for funds for public hearing. I have not acted on it simply because we did not have sufficient funds at the time. You will agree with me that a matter such as this one that requires pensions should go through public hearing so that all interests will come and voice their opinion. This is just my opinion, and I know it's at the stage of the third reading, and it's at the late stage.
Speaker,
but I think even though it's at third reading, if there's something fundamentally wrong, it can still be objected to at this stage. If it is fundamentally wrong, and from the presentation by the chairman or the deputy chairman, this matter was referred to his committee. His committee was not given the opportunity to ask that, why have you not submitted your report? I think it is only fair, under the doctrine of fair hearing, to have asked the committee, we sent you this thing 60 days ago, why have you not submitted your report? And because it is something that affects the National Assembly, which we are a part of, it is the more reason why we should be circumspect, so that we'll be seen to be above board. The DS does not have an interest. I don't have an interest. Nobody has an interest. But the public out there will not know that the DS does not have an interest or that I don't have an interest. All they will say is that the National Assembly service is being exempted from pensions. Why? That's the question they will ask. And from what they've said, other people have come to them and they've refused to give them that exemption. I'm a part of the National Assembly, but the question that I will ask is, why must we be exempted? Now, if at the public hearing, the committee is convinced that the National Assembly should be for good reason, then we will exempt the National Assembly Service Commission. But we cannot exempt the National Assembly on our own volition. Let the public participate. Call the head of service, call the pensions board, call everybody, and let them give reasons. This is what I think. I think we should give since we have referred to the committee, we should give them an opportunity. Maybe give them 3-4 days. And again, I accept responsibility because they wrote to me for funding, but I did not have the funds. It is part of what we complain about, scarcity and paucity of funds. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, as you are now, the order paper prepared without your input or your own knowledge, because it's not a responsibility, was done. I remember I presided on the day this motion was taken. Secondly, the motion was taken as members were seated. It is not for, when we are doing committee, when we are sitting of the House, it's not for a committee to say, come and say, okay, this motion was taken wrongly, or after a long time. Sir, I disagree with this procedure we're taking. We have, in the past, and even yesterday, the committed of committees that have not done their job. It's not the first time we're discharging responsibility committees. And I think if we have an interest, it's better to say, okay, can we step down this for all this? But the excuse is given now, sir. I don't want to align myself with it. Because I remember Suleiman, over bills that were brought to him, the numbers that was there, he brought up his objection as to the fact that money was not given to him and this thing was not given. Yet, the ruling was that it was committed to committee of the whole. This is in the record. We can be cross-checked. So it's not the first time such is happening. And it should not be. And when members have interest, I believe we are working in unison. I don't want to be seen as if we are divided. For good reason or for whatever reasons, should it be now, any day you are presiding, I can come out and say, okay, what A, B, C were done wrongly. When I'm presiding, such happens. Is that the way we should proceed?
No,
that's the meaning of it. We're going.
I don't want us to.
That's what we're going.
I don't want us to. I don't want us to take this personal. I don't want us to take this personal.
It's not personal.
I want Clark. Let me have the motion. Let me have the motion that was brought. Let me have the motion that was brought. What I want us to do is to err on the side of caution. I want us to err on the side of caution. This is a matter of pensions. Pensions is very important. You have information. Olododo.
Olododo Cook, Abdulgadu Saka, speaking for the people of Ilorin East, Ilorin South, Federal Constituency. I am from State of Harmony, Kwara State. Mr. Speaker, I just want to add one or two things as an information. As I said by DS, and you yourself you observe and you agree that if actually all the process have been followed, the only thing you believe is that because the members of the committee were not carried along. I disagree, Mr. Speaker, with one reason. Majority of them, of the committee of, of pension, they were not on the floor. The day we are taking the second reading, and even the committee of O, and it was presided over by DS. Even including the chairman of the pension committee, even the deputy, they were all busy because they were running after the election. And I'm telling you, majority of them. And that, excuse me. Secondly, why, Mr. Speaker? Relax. Why?
8.
What page?
51. Page 51. When a member is speaking, no member may converse aloud or make any noise or disturbance to interrupt him. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I want the House to observe decorum and allow honorable colleagues to make their submission, and if they have anything to counter, they should listen in silence and then raise their hand and allow you to recognize them, because the house is becoming too noisy and we can barely hear the person that you have given the floor to speak. That's my point of order, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Kiru. Point of order sustained. Honorable members, let's try and maintain some decorum. That motion was brought by the Chairman, Business and Rules, asking the discharge of, actually, it was 3 committees: pensions, defense, and health institutions, discharging them of the bills that were referred to them, and commit same to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. So according to this motion, it appears that the proper procedure was followed, which discharged them, and the House carried or affirmed the discharge. I think we need to do some further legislative work on this. If members or the Committee on Pensions feel aggrieved, one, I don't know if the hands that showed any member of the committee that objected to the motion. I believe, from what I can see, it was carried by the day. Let us step this matter down for a couple of days, and the committee should liaise with the Chairman, Business and Rules. See how we can untie this. Procedure has been followed. If the House is not happy, there are ways to go about it in the legislative procedurally, again, according to our rules. Talk to the Chairman, Business and Rules, and see what we can do about it. Chairman, Business and Rules, you can bring this matter back up either Thursday or Tuesday, depending on how long it takes you. You can bring it back up Thursday, whatever you guys decide, Thursday or Tuesday. But let us not sacrifice the substance on the cradle of procedure. But the procedure has been followed. If we want to have a look at it again, let's have a look at it again. So liaise with the committee, Chairman. And I noticed that it wasn't that the committee was singular. There were 3 committees here that were discharged of their responsibilities. So matter step down. Thank you. The motion or the bill that has just been stepped down was a bill to exempt the National Assembly's service from pensions, not the members, not the legislators. National Assembly Service Commission, the staff and the rest of them, not the members. So members have no interest in this matter. I just thought I would make that very clear.